विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतु श्री श्रीमद अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य शिल हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गौ गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय। श्री श्री राधा माधव की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरे हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gaurango. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswating Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraye. Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nittang Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 5, Narad's instruction to Narad's instruction on Srimad Bhagavatam. Text 23. Aham Puratita Bhave Abhavam Mune Dasyas Tu Kashashchana Vedavadina Nirupita Balaka Eva Yoginam Shushrushane Prabrishi Nirvivikshatam. Aham Puratito Bhave Bhavam Mune. Aham Puratito Bhave Bhavam Mune. Dashastu Kashashchana Vedavadinam. Dashastu Kashashchana Vedavadinam. Nirupita Balaka Eva Yoginam. Nirupito Balaka Eva Yoginam. Shushrushane Prabrishi Nirvivikshatam. Shushrushane Prabrishi Nirvivikshatam. Aham Puratito Bhave Bhavam Mune. Dashastu kashaschana vedavadina Nirupita balaka eva yogina Shushrushane prabrishinir vivikshatam. Aham, I, Pura, formerly, Atita Bhave, in the previous millennium, Abhavam, became, Mune, O Muni, Dasya, of the maidservant, two, but, Kashashchana, certain, Vedavadinam, of the followers of Vedanta, Nirupitaha, engaged, Balaka, boy servant, Eva, only, Yoginam, of the devotees, Shushrushane, in the service of, Prabrishi, during the 4 months of the rainy season, Nirvivikshatam, living together. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. O Muni, in the last millennium I was born as the son of a certain maidservant engaged in the service of Brahmanas who were following the principles of Vedanta. When they were living together during 4 months of the rainy season, I was engaged in their personal service. Please repeat after me. O Muni, in the last millennium, I was born as the son of a certain maidservant, engaged in the service of Brahmanas who are following the principles of Vedanta. When they were living together during the 4 months of the rainy season, I was engaged in their personal service. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The wonder of an atmosphere surcharged with devotional service to the Lord is briefly described herein by Sri Narad Muni. He was the son of a most insignificant parentage. He was not properly educated. Still, because his complete energy was engaged in the service of the Lord, he became an immortal sage. Such is the powerful action of devotional service. The living entities are the marginal energy of the Lord, and therefore they are meant for being properly utilized in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. When this is not done, one's situation is called Maya. Therefore, the illusion of Maya is at once dissipated as soon as one's full energy is converted in the service of the Lord instead of in sense enjoyment. From the personal example of Sri Narad Muni in his previous birth, it is clear that the service of the Lord begins with the service of the Lord's bona fide servants. The Lord says that service of His servant is greater than His personal service. Service of the devotee is more valuable than the service of the Lord. One should therefore choose a bona fide servant of the Lord, constantly engaged in His service, accept such a servant as the spiritual master, and engage himself in his spiritual master's service. Such a spiritual master is the transparent medium by which to visualize the Lord, who is beyond the conception of the material senses. By service of the bona fide spiritual master, the Lord consents to reveal Himself in proportion to the service rendered. Utilization of the human energy in the service of the Lord is the progressive path of salvation. The whole cosmic creation becomes at once identical with the Lord as soon as the service in relation with the Lord is rendered, under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. The expert spiritual master knows the art of utilizing everything to glorify the Lord, and therefore, under his guidance, the whole world can be turned into the spiritual abode of the divine grace of the Lord's servant. Om Ajnanotimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaiham Dadati Swapadantikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Aham Puratito Bhave Bhavang Mune Dashastu Kashaschana Veda Vadinam Nirupito Balako Eva Joginam Shushushane Prabrishinir Bibikshatam. O Muni, in the last millennium, I was born as the son of a certain maidservant, engaged in the service of Brahmanas who are following the principles of Vedanta. When they were living together during the 4 months of the rainy season, I was engaged in their personal service. So, Narad Muni is reminding Vasudev how to complete the mission. Vasudev's mission was to present the Vedic wisdom, and this challenge was there because he saw the condition of the living entities in the age of Kali. Their condition is very, very difficult actually. Prayana alpayusha shabhya kalavashmin yuge jana. Prayana, most of the people in the age of Kali will be manda, extremely lazy. Extremely lazy. Sumanda matayo, their mentality is absolutely crooked. Manda bhagya, they don't have anything called good fortune. They're totally unfortunate. Manda bhagya. And upadruta, they're going to be constantly troubled, harassed, and disturbed by natural calamities, by political situation, by all kinds of things. They'll be constantly troubled. So, what is the possibility of them accepting and understanding the Vedic wisdom? Because Vedas are bhurini bhuri karmani shrotabbani vibhagasa. Vedas are vast, bhurini. And bhuri karmani, innumerable activities have been prescribed in the Vedas. And until and unless one have the total understanding of the Vedas, one won't be able to understand the purpose of the Vedic wisdom. If we take the partial aspect of the Vedic wisdom or Vedic instructions, we'll get totally confused. As people do. I mean, even great personalities, great sages, great philosophers, Vedic philosophers, were confused. Like we find that some people thought the Karma Kanda is the purpose of the Vedas. Some of the sages thought Jnana Kanda is the purpose of the Vedas. But unless and until one transcends the Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda and come to the point of devotional service, it's a waste of time. Shrama eva hi kevalam. All their endeavors are just a waste of time. Great philosophers, brilliant personalities, but got stuck. For example, Jaimini, great philosopher, a rishi, a sage, stuck with the Karma Kanda section. And similarly, other great personalities, Kapil, Kanad, and they are stuck with Jnana Kanda section. But then we find Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving the summary of the Vedas. What is the summary? He is saying, Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Kevali Bisharo Bhanda. Karma Kanda section of the Vedas and Jnana Kanda section are nothing but two pots of poison. Two pots of poison. Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Kevali Bisharo Bhanda. Omrito bolia jeba khai. One who drinks it thinking that it is nectar. Nana joni bhraman kare. It travels in different different species of life. Kadarja bhakkhan kare. Eats all kinds of garbage. All kinds of unedible food stuff. Kadarja bhakkhan kare. Tar janmo adhappate jai. His birth is doomed to extinction. Heavy statement here. But it's coming from whom? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that is the purpose. Like similarly, we see how Krishna put the bhakti aspect in the center of Bhagavad Gita. You read take the initial part, Karma Kanda, up to sixth chapter. And then 12 to 18. But 12 to 18th is a Jnana Kanda that is substantiating the bhakti aspect. It is not Jnana Kanda which is leading to liberation. This Jnana Kanda is actually Jnana aspect of Bhagavad Gita is substantiating the bhakti aspect. And then we see finally Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Braja. Why they have been rejected by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, also by Vasudeva. Later on we'll see that. It's been rejected because Karma Kanda leads to material enjoyment. Can material enjoyment be the goal of life? Never. And Jnana Kanda, what does Jnana Kanda lead to? Mukti, liberation. Mukti. Now, the question is fine, mukti, but what is after mukti? What is after liberation? A prisoner, when he is prison, he may think that to get out of the prison is the goal of life. But when he gets out of the prison, then all his problems are solved. Does his life become full of ecstasy? No. There he'll have to fend himself. And also, another consideration, there are two ways you can get out of the prison house. One is you can dig a tunnel and get out of the prison. There are many movies and many stories like that. How the prisoners escape from the prison by digging a tunnel or some such means. Fine, you get out of the prison, but then what? The police is after you. You have to constantly hide. And at least when you are in the prison, when the prisoner was in the prison, he had some food to eat and he had some place to sleep. But now he doesn't even have the food to eat and he's constantly hiding. That is one way of getting out of the prison. Then the other way of getting out of the prison is you appeal to the king. My lord, I made a mistake. Now I realized my mistake. I promise I'll never do that. I disobeyed your order. I broke your law. That's why I'm in the prison. So I'm going to surrender unto you. And then what happens? When the king hears the appeal, the king says, okay, he's straightening out. And he tells the prison authorities, I got such and such appeal from this person, watch him. And the prison also authorities also watch him, and they see, oh, this person is actually really improving. His attitude and his activities are really remarkable. So then the prison authorities start to treat him in a different way. Although he's in a prison, they treat him nicely. No more punishment, rather facilities he gets. All kinds of facilities. And then they make him a role model for other prisoners. Look, become like him. Then your prison existence in prisons is going to be rewarded and fulfilled. So even when he's in the prison, he starts to act as a servant of the king. And then the prison authorities get a report that I need some good servant. Can you recommend somebody? The prison authorities say, well, this person is doing so well. Okay, send him to my palace. So from prison, straight to the king's palace. Now, which is the right way of getting out of the prison? First one or second one? Right? The second one is the Vaishnava way of getting out of the prison. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekang sharanam braja. Ahang tvang sarva papebhyo mokshaishyami. Meaning, all the crimes that you have committed in the past will be totally obliterated. Sarva papebhyo, no more past record of crime. So that is what happens. Whatever our criminal record may have been, whatever the reasons may have been why we are suffering in the prison, it is immediately dismissed. And he's saying, Ma suchaha, don't worry about that. Because what you'll get is way beyond this sarva papebhyo moksha ishami. Moksha means liberation. So Krishna is saying that what you'll get is way beyond liberation. And that is the opportunity to come and stay with the king. And not only come and stay with the king, this opportunity is something like become the prince, king's own son. So that is the reward of devotional service. So that's what Narad Muni is reminding Vyasdev. He has spoken about many, many things, and Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda. Like Prabhupada pointed out that even the sixth branch of philosophy, Vedanta Sutra, is not directly speaking about Krishna. Other five are Gnostic, atheistic. And this one also is not to the point, revealing the identity of Krishna. Because you have to understand the main crux of the teachings in order to understand the Vedanta Sutra. Therefore, there is a need for elaborating Vedanta Sutra. So this is how he is leading him to accept the responsibility of writing a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. That is Srimad Bhagavatam. What is the commentary? And this is what is Srimad Bhagavatam pointing out? Pure devotional service. Like at the beginning of the Bhagavatam, we are saying, Dharma prajita koitavatra parama nirmat saranam satam. When one becomes, when he gives up all other activities. Krishna said that sarva dharman parityajya at the end of Bhagavad Gita. And at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, it's beginning the same concept. Sarva dharman parityajya. Dharma prajita kaitavatra. Prajita means totally, completely. Kaitavatra. Kaitava means, here the dharma, the sarva dharman parityajya is becoming elaborated or explained. Which dharma? Kaitava dharma, cheating dharma. Dharma means The purpose of dharma is to surrender to Krishna, as Krishna pointed out at the end of Bhagavad Gita. Purpose of dharma is to surrender to Krishna. That is the dharma. Besides that, whatever goes on in the name of dharma is just cheating business. Koitava, cheating. So give up all this cheating business, cheating dharma. And what is the cheating dharma? What goes on in the name of dharma but meant for sense gratification. They're all sense gratification. I want this, karma kanda. I want this, therefore let me do this. But what is that I want this? I want this for my sense gratification. And then when he gets completely exhausted and sees that there is no sense gratification, it's only an endeavor that doesn't bear any fruit. Trying to enjoy the senses, trying to enjoy, but there is no enjoyment. I end up suffering. So why unnecessarily waste of time? Let's get out of here. Endeavor for liberation, mukti. So, so this is how mukti, liberation also is a kind of sense gratification. Bhukti, mukti, siddhikami, shakoli ashanta. Because they are all meant for sense gratification. Therefore, they all are disturbed, ashanta, disturbed, but agitated, perturbed. They're all endeavoring for sense. Liberation. Oh, this place is not good enough, so let me go to another place where it's going to be better. For who? For me. But the real purpose is to become engaged in serving Krishna. And then the previous verse has pointed that out very beautifully. And Shesha Prabhu yesterday explained that verse so beautifully. That ultimately the goal of life is to do everything for the sake of pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Become engaged in serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the goal of life. Krishna-centered existence. That is the meaning of devotional service. That's the meaning of Krishna consciousness. Jat karosi, jadasnasi, jat juhosi, dadasi jat. Jat tapushoshi konteya, tat kurusha madarvan. The similar principle Prabhupada pointed out, that everything should be engaged in Krishna's service. Whatever you're good at, do it for Krishna. Sorry. If you're a singer, sing for Krishna. If you like to dance, dance for Krishna. If you like to write, write for Krishna. If you're a philosopher, you like to delve into mental speculation, do that for Krishna. Go into philosophical understanding in order to understand Krishna. If you're a scientist, use your scientific knowledge to prove the existence of Krishna. Science is not bad, but what is going on in the name of science is abominable today. Because the goal of science is to reject God. That is their goal. That is modern science. Or that is what is going on in the name of modern science. The principle of modern science is, if you accept God, or if you accept the existence of soul, then you are not qualified. You copped out. So they won't recognize you. But the thing is, we can scientifically prove that. Can't we scientifically prove that? Just consider simple science. We are taking We're inhaling oxygen and we're giving out. Now, if this process continued, what would have happened? The whole atmosphere would have been filled up with carbon dioxide. Did it ever happen? No. Why? Trees and plants are taking the carbon dioxide and giving out oxygen. Now, is it an accidental happening, chance happening? Or did somebody make this arrangement? Yeah. Don't be stupid to recognize that fact. Don't be so stupid that recognize the simple. Okay, another thing. I mean, these are simple science actually. We can scientifically prove that. And an intelligent person, we can appeal to the intelligent person. Why don't you consider that? A simple little seed, tiny little seed falls in the ground, a tree comes up. And it grows, becomes a big tree. Then fruits come in there. And we eat the fruit. Our food is coming from the tree. And then inside that fruit there are some seeds. Falls on the ground, trees come. In those trees there are fruits. In those fruits there are seeds. In those seeds there are trees. In those trees there are fruits. Is it just an accidental happening? Like, how can one be so stupid to conclude like that? Like they say that life evolved from some accidental combination of some atoms and molecules under certain pressure and temperature. Right, scientist? Right? Fine. Prabhupada made that challenge. Okay, you have all the chemicals. You have the means to create any temperature or take it to a very high degree of temperature, and you can also create pressure. So why don't you create that temperature and pressure and make that chemicals combine to give birth to life, to produce life? They're saying that they'll create life out of matter. I heard a big experiment, multi-trillion-dollar project is going on in Switzerland. They'll make life out of matter. Another bluff. Some guys are going to get rich through this. And yesterday Shesha Prabhu was talking about the scientific basis of Krishna consciousness, the book, and also the life comes from life. In life comes from life, there is one anecdote and an incident that Hansadutta was in Ceylon, and there was a person, so-called scientist, Dr. Kavur. He actually made a challenge that if anybody can prove God, the existence of God, and Hansadutta counter-challenged that you prove that God doesn't exist. You are asking us to prove that God, to prove existence of God. Now you prove that God doesn't exist. You produce life out of matter. And then he made one point very nicely, that even a chicken can give birth to produce an egg. No, he made that point. You just produce an egg out of your chemicals. And if you can't, then you have to admit that a chicken is a better scientist than you are. because a chicken can produce eggs, but you can't. And Prabhupada was very pleased. I mean, Prabhupada used to make that point. You don't have to produce life. Just produce a grain of rice. Just create a grain of rice in your laboratory. And let us see that a tree, a plant will come out of that grain of rice. At the most, you can make a plastic rice that looks like rice. But it will not give birth to another tree. So, and Prabhupada very emphatically told us that Krishna consciousness is actually science. It's not some sort of faith. Prabhupada was not at all interested in that. He was not promoting some faith. Prabhupada was establishing the real science. And that way we can actually consider religion in its real aspect is a science. Just as there are different branches of understanding different topics, and that is a science. The means to understand energy is physics. The means to understand elements, chemistry. The means to understand numbers, mathematics. Similarly, the means to understand the spiritual reality is religion. Religion in reality is the means to understand the spiritual reality. Therefore, it's a science. We should treat it as a science, not as a faith. And that is why all kinds of abominable activities are going on in the name of religion today, because it has degenerated into faith. One American philosopher, Will Durant, actually made a very nice analysis. He was speaking about Christianity, but he made a very wonderful analysis of all religions actually. And he said that a religion remains a religion for first few years. Then it becomes a philosophy. Then it becomes a political convenience. And then it becomes a mere ritual. So today, all the religions have become a mere ritual. They're following certain rituals and saying that I belong to that religion and so forth. That's how the religion degenerates with time. And practically all religions have degenerated with time. And Prabhupada actually came to establish real religion, give us the understanding what is real religion. To go back to the scientific understanding, let's consider another thing. The earth is moving, right, with a tremendous speed. What's the shape of the earth? Round. Where are we situated? On the surface, right? Now consider a spherical object. There is some objects on the surface of it and it's moving. What will happen? All will get thrown into it. Okay, it's not happening. You may say, well, because of gravitational pull. Now, who created this gravitational pull? Accidental happening? Okay, if it is accidental happening, then what if by chance the earth stops to move? Then did you consider what will happen? If the earth stops to move for a fraction of a second, what will happen? It's moving at the speed of 1,000 kilometers per hour. Not 1,000 kilometers, 1,000 miles per hour actually. 1,000 miles per hour. If it stops, what will happen? The entire creation or entire all the objects on the surface of the earth will be immediately destroyed. Did it ever happen? Had there been a single instance when the earth stopped to move for a second? No. So can't we conclude very easily that there must be an intelligent being Who is controlling all that? Anyway, so the point has been established before that whatever one is fond of doing, good at doing, he should do it for promoting Krishna consciousness, establishing or promoting or glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now Narad Muni is going into another aspect of it. This is what devotional service is. This is what should be done. But the other aspect is how can one receive that benefit? That is what he is talking about. What is the qualification to receive that? We are seeing, he's talking about his own life, just to prove that, just to tell us, just to teach us. Born as a servant as a son of a maidservant. Can you imagine born as a son of a maidservant? That is, didn't have the father. And naturally he didn't have any education. He's a little boy. And his mother, she must have been very, very pious lady. She just happened to serve some saintly personalities during the Chaturmasha, 4 months of rainy season in India. And he also, as a boy, he also kept on serving them. And then he received their remnants. And that is the beginning of Sukriti, good for spiritual benefit. And it goes on like that. So what do you learn there? In order to become a devotee, we don't need any material qualification. We don't need to have exalted high birth in an exalted family. We do not need any material qualification in order to become a devotee. Only thing that is needed is the mercy of a devotee. And on the individual's side, all is needed is a sincere desire to serve that person. Pariprashnena sevaya. So sevaya, the service is the most important thing. Narad Muni, at this, he was a little boy. Naturally, he didn't have any question. He just received their mercy. And they were pleased with him because of his service. And then we can see how he attained his perfection. So that is what the essential teachings of all the Vedas is. Just become humble and sincerely serve the exalted Vaishnavas, and the good fortune will automatically appear. And as a result of that, the gate of the spiritual sky will get wide open. Simple process. Anybody can have that good fortune, provided he is willing to surrender. Sometimes in Prabhupada's interview, you will see some people are asking Srila Prabhupada that how can one find a bona fide spiritual master? Just sitting in front of a bona fide spiritual master and you still don't see him. And this is the unfortunate thing. They don't have the intelligence to recognize a bona fide spiritual master. And so many people say, oh, I met Prabhupada and this and that. Then why didn't you surrender to him and become a devotee? You are so proudly saying, I saw Srila Prabhupada. And if you're grown up enough, at least, some children also saw Prabhupada. Their case is different. But if you're grown up enough, then why didn't you surrender to him? What is the use of seeing Srila Prabhupada if you did not receive his mercy and benefit yourself in that way? Therefore, the real intelligence is to find a bona fide spiritual master and surrender unto him. Surrender unto him. Don't ever think that you know more than the spiritual master. Sometimes it happens. I know my guru is, he is idiot. Somehow or other he got the sanction from ISKCON to have the stamp to become a guru. But he is not really qualified. I know better than him. It happens. It happens. So this is how our Maya actually tricks us. Maya's business is to test, check whether one is qualified to take spiritual advancement, take to spiritual life. And time again, Maya will put us through different tests. And Maya's test will be Dhanam, Janam, Sundarim. So don't become victims of Maya's onslaught. Dhanam, Janam and Sundari may come, but use it in Krishna's service. There is nothing wrong, as we said, as Prabhupada said, that everything can be used in Krishna's service. That is the meaning of Sankirtan. Here also Prabhupada says the same thing at the end. And therefore, under the guidance, the whole world can be turned into the spiritual abode by divine grace of Lord's servant. The expert spiritual master knows the art of utilizing everything. Utilizing everything. Take note of that. Utilizing everything to glorify the Lord. Everything can be utilized to glorify the Lord. And that is the meaning of Sankirtan. Thank you all very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Shesha Prabhu, do you have? Yeah, please. Oh, I thought a comment.
Thank you for the section.
Is that volume all right? Volume, just increase the volume.
You were speaking in today's lecture about Karmakanda, Gyanakanda. And the Karmakanda section of the Vedas, from what I understand, is vast. But you spoke so strongly that sense enjoyment, sense gratification is just to be rejected. It's nothing. It's how come there's such a big body of Vedic principles that basically deal with sense gratification?
Yeah, that is the wonderful aspect of the Vedas. Vedas are not rejecting anything. You want to enjoy, go ahead and enjoy. Right? That is what Vedas is saying. Karmakanda section is giving whatever your desire. Therefore, Vedas have been compared to a desire tree. Nigama Kalpatarur. The desire tree. Any desire you have, you can fulfill it. Vedas can give you the direction. But the point is, after that, eventually one realizes that in spite of all my endeavor to enjoy, I'm suffering. And then he realizes that this is a place of suffering. And this body is an instrument to receive pain. So we are in a place of suffering with an instrument to receive pain. What else can we expect? And yes, what we are doing is, it's a place of suffering with an instrument to receive pain. But Krishna has given us intelligence. With intelligence, we are actually avoiding the painful situation. But eventually, we have to succumb to death. So it's not saying that, what I have, not me, what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually presenting. The Karmakanda section of the Vedas and Gyanakanda section of Vedas are not really necessary. Meaning, when you come to the platform of devotion, then there is no need to dwell in that. Because the devotional service is the platform of real enjoyment and real fulfillment of existence. I mean, enjoyment is there. Real enjoyment is there, and we should run after that enjoyment. Like when we are thirsty, we need water. But running after a mirage, we cannot quench our thirst. Therefore, the instruction is don't run after a mirage. Go to where the water is. And that is devotional service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Krishna Guru Maharaj, thank you for the nice class. I had a question about in the earlier purports of one of Srimad Bhagavatam, when the sages are inviting Sutta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada says that there are 6 different branches of philosophy headed by the 6 sages that you mentioned, Jaimini, Gautama, and Kannada. And Prabhupada also mentions that one should be conversant with all these 6 branches so as to uphold the theistic principles of Bhagavatam. So,
yeah.
So how conversant should we be, and what are the different branches? Prabhupada doesn't elaborate.
I have to give another class. Okay, briefly I can say. You see, 6 branches of philosophy are dealing with 3 different aspects, 3 different branches of the Vedas. Karmakanda, Jnanakanda, and Bhakti, which means loving relationship with the Lord. So, those 6 branches of philosophy are, first is Purva Mimamsa, the preliminary conclusion. And that is also called Karma Mimamsa. That is dealing with the Karma Kanda section. Karma Mimamsa. And then it is through that one is coming to the point, why am I suffering? So that is actually leading him to the Jnanakanda section. And the Jnanakanda section is dealt with 4 branches of philosophy. Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, and Yoga. And they're gradually actually elevating, like Nyaya is proving that this material nature is a place of suffering. And body is an instrument to receive pain. Then what is this material nature? Kanad's Vaisheshika, atomic theory. What is the perceivable reality is actually nothing but combination of atoms. Atoms means that's an English expression. It's called, the Sanskrit expression is Paramanu, the minutest particle. And it is much finer than what goes on in the name of atoms in the Western concept. And then it comes to analytical study, Shankar. Through Shankar, the entire material nature is analyzed by 24 considerations. Those 24 considerations are 5 elements, 5 senses. Interaction between 5 senses and 5 elements gives rise to 5 objects of the senses. Then 5 working senses, 20. Then 3 subtle elements, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Then 24th consideration is the Mahatattva, the basic ingredient for the entire creation. But then they considered, you see, up to this is, that so-called Sankhya. But the Vaishnava Sankhya is going beyond that. Okay, this 24 consideration analyze the entire material nature. Right? But they are objective in nature. They are objective. But the object cannot exist without the subject. So who is the subject? I am the subject. I am, therefore this is. Now the entire material nature has been analyzed by this 24 consideration, but I couldn't be found. Therefore, I is beyond matter. So see, this is how they're transcending matter and coming to the domain of spirit. And then again, 25th consideration is the soul. But souls are minute and many. Therefore, it must have an origin, a source. So the source is the Supreme Soul. Right? And the Supreme Soul is the 26th consideration. Supreme Soul or Ishvara Bhagavan. Then it goes, the souls are parts and parcels of the Supreme. Now what's the relationship between the soul with the Supreme? That is the yoga. And the 8 branches of yoga is gradually taking to the ultimate point of samadhi, perception of the Lord in the heart. And that perception leads to surrender. See, when you come across a great personality, then what happens? Automatically, with respect, your head bows down to him in surrender. So ultimate point of samadhi is leading to surrender, and that takes to the final branch of like when one surrenders to the Lord picks him up on his loving embrace. And this loving relationship with the Lord, between the Lord and his devotee, is the ultimate conclusion, which is actually Vedanta, and which is also known as Uttar Mimamsa, or final conclusion. The final conclusion. And that final conclusion is loving devotional service to the Lord. So this is how they're gradually going to that point. And Prabhupada is saying that because in order to, deal with different people may come up with all kinds of arguments. And if we have this understanding clearly, we can deal with anybody. Impersonalist, personalist, atheist, scientist, everybody, provided they listen to us. That is the only thing. Like if people listen to us with an open heart, then they are bound to be convinced. And you can see, interviews with Prabhupada. I mean, those who are challenging Prabhupada and arguing with Prabhupada, they look so stupid. They look so stupid because, they're not listening to what Srila Prabhupada is saying. They're just holding on to their own misconception. But those who listen to Srila Prabhupada with faith, they have become devotees. They got the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Like you said. Hare Krishna. Okay, he has a question.
Thank you, Maharaj, for a beautiful class. Maharaj, I was thinking about this pastime of Narad Muni as a son of maid servant, and in a such a short amount of time, few months, he achieves Krishna Prem. So I was thinking, for me, many.
What makes you think that in a short period of time he got Krishna Prem?
Because I was reading in the Srimad Bhagavatam that
Narad Muni, after his mother died, he went to the Himalayas, he went north, and then he meditated. And then he saw the Lord. And then he was so joyful, that sight of the Lord. He wanted to see him again, so he further meditated, wanting to see the Lord again. But then he heard the voice, in this life you won't see me. But in your next life, you will become my associate. So it was not just a few months. So don't think it's going to be so easy. Our main thing is that don't worry about time. What is time? Isn't it wonderful that we are in Krishna consciousness? Yeah. So let it take life after life. We'll be happy to do. Only prayer is that Kita janamo ho jathatu atas. Let me be born in the association of your dear devotees. So that is what our desire is. Yes, go ahead. Who has a mic? Okay.
So, Maharaj, I'm just confused. You said that first samadhi, then surrender, to answer his question. But samadhi means like when you're fully absorbed in service of the Lord. So how come you be in samadhi before surrendering?
Does it look like samadhi? When the devotee is absorbed in the service of the Lord, full of anxiety, where the money is going to come from. So, I'm talking about the Yoga Samadhi. In Yoga Samadhi, one sees the Lord in the heart. That perception is called Samadhi. The ultimate consideration, the 8th stage of Yoga, is the Samadhi. And that is when you see the Lord, then you are experiencing such ecstasy that your senses are not running towards the objects of the senses. Whereas in devotional service, our senses are running everywhere and we are considering how to use everything in Krishna's service, in glorifying Krishna. Yeah, next.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So Maharaj, you explained that we can reject Karma Kanda and Gyan Kanda, and then you mentioned one sentence where you said that Gyan Kanda substantiate devotion service.
What's that?
That Gyan Kanda
okay.
substantiate devotional service. So
That
can you...
in Bhagavad Gita, if you read that from 12th chapter onwards, it's actually substantiating devotional service. That Gyan is not that kind of Gyan. Gyanakanda Gyan, which is aspiring for liberation. The last 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is not really promoting liberation, is rather substantiating devotional service.
And one more question, Maharaj. Like when you mentioned that even moksha is kind of a sense gratification.
Yes.
So, but whatever sense gratification we get out of devotional service, that should we think that as a sense gratification, or that is just a mercy of Krishna? That is real sense gratification.
Just like, real sense gratification in the sense you are thirsty, you are running after a mirage. Right? Is it going to bear any fruit? Quench your thirst? No. Don't run after the mirage. But you are thirsty, go to the oasis. Right? Where real water is. Go there. That is the thing. Yes, sense gratification. We are, Krishna is Anandamaya, we are his parts and parcels. So we also want Ananda. Jivas are also Satchidananda. But this Satchidananda aspect we'll find only when you become connected to Krishna, not otherwise. Okay, so give others a chance.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, thank you so much for this class. I have a practical question. Whenever I see patients from room to room, these days I tell the medical students, let's take 10 seconds break so that we focus not on our phones or WhatsApp. Let's focus on the patient, and in that time I will chant Hare Krishna 2 times, and I will take the grace of Radha Kund, Syama Kund inside this room and try to help this patient. But I will tell the medical students, you bring love, peace, because I cannot tell about Krishna in that setting. So is there any practical way we can share this in a nice way with patients and even medical students? They're very nice and they're very receptive, and they really like the concept of taking a break and try to help. I instead of God, I used with them love, peace, these words.
Well, hit the nail right on the head. Why do you have to beat around the bush? Right? Why don't you tell them that, look, he's actually a spirit soul. and he's in this body. The body is going through these difficulties. But this is just an external thing, the body. So let's try, okay, while we are trying to cure the body, let's try to also benefit the soul that he is originally. And this is how you can, bring in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And, main thing is that you have to present it to the point that they can understand it and accept it. Like, if they're willing to accept, then you can say, this soul is a part and parcel of the Supreme Soul. Whether you believe in God or not doesn't matter. Just recognize that the soul is coming from a source. So let's pray to that source of all souls for his spiritual benefit, so that the soul gets delivered.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes, Radha.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. The prisoner who is digging in the tunnel, is it compared to the person after mukti, liberation?
Yeah, yeah, right. That impersonal liberation. They're trying to get out of this material nature by hook or by crook, without accepting the authority of the Supreme Personality of God. Like the prisoner, if he accepted the authority of the king, he could have got out of it. Not only he didn't have to get out, even while he was in the prison, he could have been free, right? Like those who are serving the king in the prison, right? The prison wardens, are they imprisoned? Although they're in the prison, they're not prisoners because they're king's servants. So the main consideration is that when one doesn't accept the authority of the Supreme Personality of God. There is a verse which is actually explaining that. Jiyanna Aravindaksha Vimukta Maninas Tajjasta Bhavad Abhishuddha Buddhayo Arujya Krichena Padang Padang Tata Patanti Adha Anadrita Jushmadam. That one, Ye Anna Aravindaksha Vimukta Maninas, desiring to become liberated, disregards the lotus feet of the Lord. Even if by means of performing great austerities, he may be elevated to almost in the spiritual height, spiritual realm, he falls down from there. He falls down from there because he disregarded the lotus feet of the Lord. Like you go all the way up to the king's palace, but the king's palace, there are guards. And they say, you are not qualified to come here. But rather he arrests him, put him in a more severe situation. And once, one godbrother of Srila Prabhupada, actually Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he gave me a very nice analogy to that, explanation to that verse. He said, Arujya Krichena Param Padam Tatu, one falls down from that height. He said, Lord Shiva is guarding the gate of Vaikuntha. And when he sees that someone is trying to trespass, he actually hurls his trident. And losing his consciousness, he falls down. He loses his consciousness. And maybe he gives out a little light, and he thinks, and becomes a stone, brown stone like a diamond, and he thinks, Aham Brahmasmi. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So I'll stop now. It's already 9 o'clock. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki.